Or we also, on Idea Tango, we have a business directory where we list marketing consultants, and some of those do surveys and focus groups for inventors, so you can always contact them, the ones that are listed on Idea Tango. Okay, I wanted to end with this, because this is actually a lot of this information on this slide is how you can test sales very early on before you spend $5,000 to $10,000 getting a patent, before you spend several $1,000s on a prototype, before you do spend all that money. This is a great way to test and see if your product will fly in the marketplace and if you're going to be able to make money on it. And this information, actually, I read a book recently called The 4-Hour Workweek, and it talks a little bit, it talks about testing sales and things like that, but it doesn't primarily talk about it from the inventor's perspective. But I thought it would be great tools for inventors to use and quickly and easily test their sales. So these are the steps you have to do. And we have a more detailed explanation up on our site in the education section, so you can go find a more detailed article on the steps you need to take. But essentially what you need to do if you have this garden hose or this new type of pen with some sort of contraption that makes the clicky thing silent, the first thing you need to do is research your competitors, research your industry, and research how people find your product. And this beta test sales is really going to be all online, so that's really, I guess, when you step back and think about it, everything's going to be based about online. So when people go Google garden hose, what terms are they using to search for? What do you use when you search for a garden hose on the internet? So research keywords and competitors. And what you're going to do is, then you're going to go back through, so you found some keywords, you found some competitors, go back through your keywords, pick out the ones you think people will use the most, or that do use them the most, and then find competitors or competing products or alternative products that appear in the top, consistently appear in the top of results. And those are going to be your biggest, if you're trying to sell stuff online, that's going to be your biggest competitor. And so you look at your competitors and you can see what they do, because all their information is on the website. So what you want to do is figure out what you can do better. Whether it's adding a new feature to the product, or maybe allowing people to choose colors of their garden hose, or maybe you offer free shipping for your product, or you can have testimonials or models with your hose, or whatever that is. But how can you improve the sales pitch and the advertisement versus what your competitors are doing? And there's always ways you can improve. So again, there's more details in that article online, but there's always ways to improve. So you want to write your advertisement using testimonials from people that have used your product. You can really just use friends or family or whatever the case is to get some testimonials early on. Try and pick out the differentiation points. Why would people use your product instead of the one they're currently using? What makes it different? What makes it easier? What alleviates that pain that the customer has? So pick out what's different. Create a few photos and graphics. You can download photos from Flickr as a website where you can get photos, iStock photos. You can go out there and Google stock photos and download images and pay anywhere from up to a couple hundred, maybe $100 for photos that you can use in your advertisement. So the first step. Now, this is where I'm going to add my disclaimer, otherwise I know John would jump on my case. You're going to be, if you want to beta test sales, it's going to be public information. So, I'm not a patent attorney, but the whole reason you're doing this is to test your product in the marketplace before you spend too much money. So, I would recommend at the minimum. Now, what's the rule on patents? That once you disclose it publicly, you have 1 year to file for that patent in the U.S., right?
Correct.
You can't do it internationally anymore. That's gone.
Right.
So you can always go out there, test your invention without any patent protection whatsoever, but you have to file it within the U.S. within 1 year of disclosing it publicly.
Disclosing it publicly means what?
This. If you put it on eBay, it's public.
Offering it for sale or disclosing it publicly. Disclosing it publicly, if you just kind of talk generally about it, that's not disclosing it publicly. but if you talk about enough so that people can actually go out and make it, that's public disclosure.
And
That's what you gotta watch out for.
Yeah, for the purposes of this, you're telling people what it does, what pain it
Well, you're offering it
alleviates.
for sale.
You're offering it for sale.
That's
Yeah, so this is a public disclosure. So keep that in mind that if you do want to go, use this to quickly and cheaply and easily test sales, if it does fly and if it does sell for a good price, within that 1 year, you better go file a patent. And unfortunately, you won't be able to do international patents. But from what I hear, I don't know, sometimes it's not even worth it anyways because the U.S. market's so big. But anyway, so you want to test pricing, and the easiest and quickest tool to do that is eBay. You go out there, list your product in a quick 2-day auction on eBay. It's, of course, out there in the public. And you can see what that's going to do is it's going to tell you what people will buy your product for. Of course, you want to cancel the auction before it ends because you don't actually have something to ship to the person. So you got to keep that in mind. Set some alarm on your calendar or something like that so you know to cancel the auction. But the goal is that eBay is the ultimate free market. People pay what something is worth. They don't overpay, they don't underpay, they pay what it's worth to them. And so you're going to get a really good idea of what you can price your product at. So once you know the pricing and you have a general idea because you've researched competitors and products, you have a general idea of what it costs to manufacture your product, you know your product margins, right? And you need to make sure you have enough margin to pay for that overhead, pay for the secretaries, and pay for the shipping, and pay for insurance and all that other stuff. So you usually want to choose a product that has a markup of, the book recommends at least 4 times, but preferably 10 times and up. So if your product sells for, say if your product costs $10 to make, you want your product $10 to manufacture, or how much it costs you to manufacture, you want that product to sell for at least $40 on eBay. So that's what I'm talking about with markup, a 4 times, but preferably up to 10 times markup. So you want to make sure that profit margin is built in. So that's going to give you a good idea on pricing. Immediately, without having to go pay someone thousands of dollars to do hundreds of surveys, you have the ultimate free market, eBay, telling you what your product is worth. So if it passes that test and the profit margins are good enough that you still want to go forward on it, again, 4 times and up, then create a very simple 3-page website. And you can do this for $100. You can go out there, pay someone $100. You can figure out how to do it yourself for almost nothing. But however you do it, create a very simple 3-page website to test sales. You've tested the pricing on eBay, and it's shown you that people want it for a certain price. So now you can use that price to test it on your own little website. And the 3 pages you're going to have on your website is, the first page is going to have information about that product. So they go to supergardenhose.com, okay, and they find all the information on the home page of your product. No pricing information. And there's a reason you do that. Just your testimonials, your pictures, why it's so good, why it doesn't knot up, or whatever the case is. All that's on your home page. If they have an interest in purchasing it, you have a little Purchase Now button at the bottom. That takes them to the second page.